artificial intelligence is getting more and more support, people are seeking to build a career in this field. There is a great scope of artificial intelligence in India because the aim is to develop a technology oriented work environment for effectively and perfect solution to different problems. The scopes can be found in the following areas such as robotics, game development, machine for detection of language, edit powered by artificial intelligence, healthcare, home service robots, speech recognition machine, cyber security, precision medicine, and precision farming, among others. The scope of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country that is become more technologically advanced by the day and need to access the latest technologies. Education, finance, marketing, and aviation are other areas where artificial intelligence can help transform the way business works. Interestingly, a decade from now, artificial intelligence will help create thousands of new jobs for Indians. If you have heard of term AI augmentation, you will be relieved to know that India become the second most populous country in the world, need to generate more employment. Powered by artificial AI augmentation meaning a combination of human and artificial intelligence where both are needed to complete a job will help to create the employment opportunities for future India. The current status of artificial intelligence in India is that it is at an adoption stage. Startups and business are getting acquainted with the idea of using artificial intelligence in their business for more growth. According to a source, around 500 startups and business are using AI domains. Most of the growth in artificial intelligence in India can be seen in the private sector. The government sector in the healthcare, home service robots, known as speech recognition machine, cyber security, precision medicine, and precision farming, among others. Even though the scope of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country that is become more technologically advanced by the day and need to access the latest long road ahead for education, finance, marketing, and aviation are other areas where artificial intelligence can help transform the way business works. Remain promising. Interestingly, a decade from now, artificial intelligence will help create thousands of new jobs for training programs are also. If you have heard of term AI augmentation, you will be relieved to know that India become the second most populous country in the world, need to generate more employment. Powered by artificial AI augmentation meaning a combination of human and artificial intelligence where both are needed to complete a job will help to create the employment opportunity.
Thank you, Madam. Next, I request Dr. Abraham V. Kuryakos, Manager of St.Thomas College, Ranni, to deliver the inaugural
The current
address.
status of artificial intelligence in India is that it is at an adoption stage. Startups and business are getting acquainted with the idea of using artificial intelligence in their business for more growth. According to a source, around 500 startups and business are using AI domains. Most of the growth in artificial intelligence in India can be seen in the private sector. The government sector in the healthcare, home service robots, known as speech recognition machine, cyber security, precision medicine, and precision farming, among others. Even though The scope of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country that is become more technologically advanced by the day and need to access the latest
Long road
technologies.
ahead for
Education, finance, marketing, and aviation are other areas where artificial intelligence can help transform the way business works.
remain promising.
Very interestingly, a decade from now, artificial intelligence will help create thousands of new jobs
Short-term
for India.
programs are also
If you have heard of term AI augmentation, you detection of language, India become the second most
existing
populous
courses
country
such
in
as
the
as it contributes to economic outputs of our country.
world. They need to generate
subject of
more
artificial
employment powered by AI augmentation, meaning a combination of human and artificial intelligence where both are needed to complete a job will help to create the employment opportunity.
Innovation.
Thank you, Madam.
Today,
Next, I request Dr. Abraham V. Kuriakos, Manager of St. Thomas College,
For
Ranni,
future
to deliver the inaugural
The current
address.
status of artificial intelligence in India is that it is at an adoption stage. Startups and business are getting acquainted with the idea of using artificial intelligence in the business for more growth. According to a source, around 500 startups and business are using AI domains. Most of the growth in artificial intelligence in India can be seen in the private sector. The government sector in the healthcare, home service robots, known as government recreation machine, cyber security, precision medicine, and precision farming, among others. Even though the scope of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country that is become more technologically advanced by the
Thank you,
day
sir.
and need to
Here are a
access
few
the
general
latest
instructions for the participants.
ahead
All
for
participants are
education,
requested to kindly mute
finance,
your audio and
marketing,
video
and
during the
aviation
session.
are other areas where artificial
Participants may
intelligence
post your
can
doubts
help
and queries
transform
in the
the
live
way
chat box
business works.
during the talk, which can be discussed in the question and answer
Very
session,
interestingly,
which follows the
decade from
presentation.
now, artificial
A feedback link will
intelligence
be
will
shared
help
to the end of the session
create
in the live
thousands
chat
of
box,
new
which all
jobs
are
for
requested to
India.
fill up.
If you have heard
We
of
have amongst
term
us Dr. Jinesh
AI
Reddy,
augmentation,
Associate Professor in
language,
Tirunelveli.
India
He
become the
completed his
second
BSc
most
from Mahatma Gandhi
populous
University
country
and
in the
MSc from Cochin University of Science and Technology.
economic outputs.
He received his doctorate in
world.
electrical
They need
engineering
to
from
generate
Ranni University of Technology,
powered by
Netherlands,
artificial
and
intelligence,
doctorate in
meaning
physics from
a
Leiden
combination
University,
of human
Netherlands.
and artificial
His major
intelligence
research area
where
includes
both are needed
future memory
to
technology,
complete a job
nanoelectronic materials,
will
atomic
help
layer
to
deposition,
create the
flexible
employment
electronics,
opportunity.
and thin film solar cells.
Next,
He is well known to us as he has visited our college
Manager
before
of
as a
St. Thomas
resource
College,
person for various other seminars.
to deliver
Sir,
the
we are grateful
inaugural
to you
Current
for
status
accepting
of
our
artificial
invitation,
intelligence
and we
in
request
India
you
is
to
that
enlighten us
it
more
is
about artificial
at an
intelligence.
adoption stage. Startups and business are getting acquainted with the idea of using artificial intelligence in the business for more growth. According to a source, around
I hope I
100
am audible
startups
to
and
all of
business
you.
are using
Yes,
AI
audible, sir.
domains. Most of the
So
growth
I
in
will try to
artificial
go
intelligence
through
in India
the
can be seen in the private sector. The government sector in the healthcare, home service robots, known as government recreation machine, cyber security, precision medicine, and precision farming, among others. Even though the scope of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country that is become more technologically advanced by the
Thank you,
day
sir.
and need to
Here are a
access
few
the
general
latest
instructions for the participants. All participants are requested to kindly mute your audio and video during the session.
Other areas for
Participants may post your doubts and queries in the live chat box during the talk, which can be discussed in the question and answer section, which follows the presentation. Feedback link will be shared to the end of the session in the live chat box, which all are requested to fill up.
If you have heard
We
of
have amongst us Dr. Associate Professor in language, he completed his BSc from Mahatma Gandhi University and MSc from Cochin University of Science and Technology.
outputs.
He received his doctorate in electrical engineering from Ranni University of Technology and doctorate in physics from Leiden University.
human and artificial
His major
intelligence
research area includes structured memory technology, nano-electronic materials, atomic layer deposition,
create the employment
flexible electronics, and thin film solar cells. Next, I request Dr. Abraham as he has visited our college manager of St.Thomas College for various other seminars to deliver the integrated address for accepting our invitation.
One thing I was
We
just
request
going
you
back
to enlighten us more about artificial
at an
intelligence.
adoption stage.
It's
Experience.
Startups and business are getting acquainted with the idea of using artificial intelligence in the business for more growth.
Once again,
According to a source, around
I hope
100
I'm
startups
audible to
and
all of
business
you.
are using AI domains. Most of the
So
growth in
I'll try
artificial
to able
intelligence
to
in India can be seen in the private sector. The government sector in the healthcare AI home service robots known as government creation machine, cyber security, precision medicine, and precision farming, among others. Even though the price of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country, that is become more technologically advanced by in terms of the
Thank you, sir.
and need to
Here are a
access
few
the
general instructions for the participants. All participants are requested to kindly mute your audio and video during the session.
other areas for
Participants may post your doubts and queries in the live chat box during the talk, which can be discussed in the question and answer section, which follows the presentation.
artificial
Feedback link will be shared to the end of the session in the live chat box, which all are requested to fill up.
programs are also. If you have heard
We
of
have amongst us Dr.
augmentation,
He completed his BSc from Mahatma Gandhi University and MSc from Cochin University of Science and Technology.
outputs.
He received his doctorate in electrical engineering from Ranni University of Technology and doctorate in physics from Leiden University.
human and artificial
His major research area includes structured memory technology, nano-electronic materials, atomic layer deposition,
the employment
electronics, and thin film solar cells. Next, I request Dr. Abraham as he has visited our college manager of St.Thomas College for various other seminars to deliver the integrated address for accepting our invitation.
One thing I was
We
just
request
going
you
back
to enlighten us more about artificial intelligence.
adoption stage.
Startups
And business are getting acquainted with the idea of using artificial intelligence in the business for more growth.
Once again,
According to a source, around 100 startups and business are using AI domains.
First of all, I would like to thank
The growth in
you
artificial intelligence in India can be seen
coming
in
here
the
and
private sector.
participating in this
The
webinar.
government sector in the healthcare AI
First of all, I would like to
service
thank
robots known as government creation machine, cyber security, precision medicine, and precision farming, among others. Even though the price of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country, that is become more technologically advanced
Sir, not audible, sir.
in terms of the
Thank you, sir.
and need to
Here are a
access
few
the
general instructions for the participants. All participants are requested to kindly mute your audio and video during the session.
other areas
Participants may post your doubts and queries in the live chat box during the talk, which can be discussed in the question and answer section, which follows the presentation. Feedback link will be shared to the end of the session in the live chat box, which all are requested to fill up.
If you have heard
We have amongst us Dr.
augmentation,
He completed from Cochin University of Science and Technology.
outputs.
He received his doctorate in electrical engineering from the University of Technology and doctorate in physics from the University of Human and Artificial Intelligence, memory technology, nanoelectronic materials, atomic electricity, and then thank you, Madam Mercer. Next, I request to ask our co-manager of St. Thomas College to deliver integrated accessing artificial intelligence. We request you to enlighten us about artificial intelligence adoption.
Startups
and business are getting acquainted with the very idea of using artificial intelligence in the business for more growth. According to a source, around 100 startups and businesses are using AI domains.
First of all, I would like to thank you
Artificial intelligence in India can be seen
coming
in
here
the private
and
sector,
participating in this.
the government sector, in the AI
First of all, I would like to thank
robots known as government application machines.
It's a slight technical glitch. All participants are requested to wait for just 2 minutes.
Farming, among others. Even though the price of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country, it is become more technologically
not all,
in terms of the data and need to access a few general instructions to the participants. All participants are to finance, marketing, and aviation are other areas for participants may post your doubts and queries in the live chat box during the talk, which can be discussed in the question and answer section. Go for 8 days from now. Artificial intelligence will be shared to the end of the session. Our live chat box programs are also, if you have heard of from Cochin University of Science and Technology.
Outputs.
He received his doctorate in electrical engineering from the University of Technology and doctorate in physics from the combination of human and artificial intelligence, memory technology, nanoelectronic materials, atomic electricity, the employment opportunity. And then thank you, Madam Mercer. Next, I request to ask our co-manager of St. Thomas College to deliver integrated accessing artificial intelligence. We request you to enlighten us about artificial intelligence adoption. Startups and business are getting acquainted with the very idea of using artificial intelligence in the business for more growth. According to a source, around 100 startups and businesses are using AI domains.
First of all, I would like to thank you
Artificial intelligence in India can be seen
coming
in
here
the
and
private sector,
participating in this.
the government sector, in the AI service robots known as government application machines.
It's a slight technical glitch. All participants are requested to wait for just 2 minutes.
Farming, among others. Even though the price of artificial intelligence in India is wide as India is developing country, it is become more technologically advanced in terms of the data and need to access a few general instructions to the participants. All participants are to finance, marketing, and aviation are other areas for participants may post your doubts and queries in the live chat box during the talk, which can be discussed in the question and answer section. Go for 8 days from now. Artificial intelligence will be shared to the end of the session. Our live chat box programs are also, if you have heard of from Cochin University of Science and Technology.
Outputs.
He received his doctorate in electrical engineering from the University of Technology.
We're sorry for the technical glitch that's happening right now. Please wait for a few more minutes as we are trying to resolve the error as soon as possible.
Hello? Is my screen visible now?
Yes, sir, audible, sir. Yes, sir, audible, sir.
Audible also, right? So can you see the screen changing? Hello? Can you see
Sir, you're
the
audible, but the screen is not seen on the.
screen is not seen? Okay, let me
No, sir.
see. So please let me know when you see the screen, okay?
Sir, screen is not visible, sir.
Okay, okay. I'll check it once again. Yeah.
Sir, screen is visible now.
Hello? Can you see
Sir?
the slides moving?
Yes, yes. It's no problem, sir,
It's
now.
changing, right?
No problem, sir. It's changing.
Okay. So we'll start.
Okay.
Okay. We'll start. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So once again, I was actually I was keep on presenting, so I don't know where was the last slide. In between, my connection got lost. Okay, so this is another problem we are facing when we are doing everything online. Now, the talk is about brain-inspired memory. So I will quickly tell whatever we have discussed so far because we have lost a little bit of time. Okay, so I was talking about IST. IST was initiated in 2007, and Dr. Abdul Kalam was our first chancellor. Professor U.R. Rao was our second chancellor, and current chancellor is Dr. B.N. Suresh. And Dr. Detwal is our current director. And we are a small institute under Department of Space. So we have nearly 800 graduates, 100 MTech students. Keep presenting. This is how now. Okay, I think this is a problem with the instability of my net connection. I am really sorry for that. So we'll quickly tell. Now, I hope you can see what I'm presenting, right? Hello, can you see what I'm presenting? Okay, assuming that you can see what I'm presenting.
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yeah, we're working on our lab. We are working on future.
Due to the error in internet connection, Jinesh sir has requested for 10 minutes to resolve the error. So all participants are requested, you may please leave the meeting right now and you can join back at 12 p.m. today. We're really sorry for this error. You may leave the meeting now and can join back by 12 p.m. today.
Hello, sorry again. There was a problem with my internet connection suddenly. You know, I'm using BSNL connection here. So suddenly something happened. I hope this will sustain. Okay. So I hope you can hear again, right? Can you see the slides? Yeah.
Sir, can you back at 12 noon, sir? We have announced that the talk will continue from 12 noon, sir.
So okay. Until then, can we check whether it is working?
Yes, yes, we can check, sir.
Okay. So can you see the slides?
Yes, yes, we can see.
Okay. My connection, I don't know what happened today. It's very unstable. Never happens like that.
സാറേ ഇപ്പോഴ് സാറ് ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് സ്ലൈഡ് ഒന്ന് മൂവ് ചെയ്തേ സാറേ. എന്നത് മാറ്റിക്ക്.
മാറുന്നുണ്ടോ അവിടെ?
ഇല്ല, മാറിയില്ല.
മാറുന്നില്ല. സ്ലൈഡ് ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല?
ഇല്ല, ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല. ഇപ്പം ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യാം സാറേ. ഓക്കെ സാർ, ഇത് ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീനിൽ ഇടാൻ പറ്റുമോ സാറേ?
ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീനിൽ ഇടാം.
ഓക്കെ,
ഇപ്പൊ ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ആയോ?
ഇല്ല, ചെറിയൊരു ഡിലേ ഉണ്ട് സാറ്. അവിടെ ചെയ്യുന്നതിന്റെ ഒരു ഡിലേ നമുക്ക് ഇവിടെ ഫീൽ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്.
അവിടെ വരുന്നുണ്ട് അല്ലേ? ഇപ്പൊ ഞാൻ വേറൊരു കണക്ഷൻ ഇട്ടിരിക്കുന്നത് ഇപ്പം ഐഡിയയുടെ. നമുക്ക് 12:30 കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റുമെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ പെട്ടെന്ന് IST പോയി ഇത് സെറ്റ് ചെയ്യാമായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ ഓൾറെഡി 12 പറഞ്ഞു അല്ലേ?
12 പറഞ്ഞു. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സാറ് പവർ പോയിന്റ് ഇങ്ങി തരികയാണെങ്കിലേ PPT ഞങ്ങള് ഇത് ചെയ്താൽ മതി, സ്ക്രോൾ ചെയ്ത് തന്നാൽ മതിയോ, ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്താൽ മതിയോ?
അയച്ചു തരട്ടെ?
എന്റെ മെയിൽ ID-ലോട്ടൊന്ന് അയക്കും സാറേ. ഞാനിപ്പോ വാട്സപ്പിൽ സാറിന് ഇട്ടേക്കാം, മെസ്സേജ് ഇടാം.
ഇത് ഇപ്പോൾ വിസിബിൾ ആണോ, ഓഡിബിൾ ആണോ സർ? ഹലോ സാർ, ഓക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ ഇത് വിസിബിൾ ആണോ, എൻ്റെ സ്ലൈഡ് ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? ജസ്റ്റ് എ സെക്കൻഡ്. സ്ലൈഡ് ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടോ? സ്ലൈഡ് ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട് അല്ലേ? ഓക്കെ
അതെ.
ഓക്കെ, ദെൻ വി വിൽ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ലൈക്ക് ദിസ്. ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ഇടുമ്പോഴാണ് ചെറിയ പ്രോബ്ലം ഉള്ളത്, അപ്പോൾ അത് നോക്കട്ടെ. ശരി, നമുക്ക് ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ഇല്ലാതെ ചെയ്യാം.
ഓക്കെ സാർ.
സോറി.
സാറേ തുടങ്ങാം സാറേ. ഓക്കെ,
ഇത് നെക്സ്റ്റ് സ്ലൈഡ് കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടോ നോക്കിയേ?
കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ട്.
അല്ലേ?
ഓക്കെ
ഓക്കെ, we'll start.
ഓക്കെ.
So once again, welcome back. I'm extremely sorry for this mess up. My internet is slowing down. That's why. So we cannot use the full screen mode because it is not working. I think the bandwidth is very low. So we'll go like this. Okay. Yeah, I will skip the all these slides. So this is basically what we are doing, and I think we are already on this slide. Okay. So we are talking about the miniaturization. Miniaturization means it's not like computers. If you look at whatever is around you, all the technologies. Okay, computers are miniaturizing down to a very small equipment with a lot of functionalities. Look at your mobile phones, for example. Mobile phones are getting a lot of miniaturization, and functionalities are increasing. Watches, now all the functions available in mobile phones and most of the functions in a computer are now available on the recentmost watches, Apple Watch, for example. So these are the advantages. I mean, these are the progresses in the technology for the last 60 years. Okay, so that's what we are talking about. We are talking about artificial intelligence, that is the 6th generation, because now miniaturization of the technology has already happened. Now what is happening is on the other side, okay, the computation side, what are the challenges? So for example, I told you an example here. I hope that was audible last time. It was about Google. When you are typing, for example, artificial intelligence, or just ARTI, if you're typing, the Google itself will give you a lot of suggestions. That means now the machines are capable of giving us suggestions, possibilities, so that we can choose out of it. So that is one part of artificial intelligence. I also showed you an example here. For example, we have faces which are artificially created. How do we know that these are artificially created? We have no way to know whether these are artificially created. We can see some problems there. For example, these earrings, they are different. If you look at all these figures, earrings are different. That is because you are selecting the faces or the features of the faces from different category, and we are combining them together. This is from the Uber, the research center of Uber. Uber, you know, taxi, Uber, food delivery, all these things, you know. So they are working a lot of artificial intelligence, because these are domains where artificial intelligence will take up. Okay. As I told you, if you are ordering food from somewhere, we are actually getting a lot of suggestions, which are the neighboring hotels. That also is an application of artificial intelligence. If you are waiting for somewhere to get a taxi, you are actually getting a lot of possibilities, a lot of suggestions to get it. Okay. To get different taxis, different places you can go, the hotels around it, the places where you can stay, the places you can see. All these suggestions are actually now coming to your phone when you are searching for a taxi. So these are all part of artificial intelligence, where we are now living in the midst of possibilities. Okay. So you can actually see in this website, this person does not exist.com. Okay, so you can actually see a lot of profiles like this artificially created. So how these are created? According to ethnicity, for example, Chinese-like faces, American-like or European-like faces, Indian-like faces. They're all the eyes, nose, lips, for example, all these separate parts are kept in a large database, and then selecting with the different combinations, faces like this. Yeah, so you can actually create this. All these faces are not existing. None of them are existing actually. Okay. So maybe this is a good thing for future movies. Okay, because we can create heroes who are actually not existing, and we cannot even identify whether they are existing or not. Now we are joking, but we don't know. Maybe in 10 to 15 years or 20 years from now, these things may be real. Okay. Next slide is about artificial intelligence. Is that transition from our brain to the computer? Is it an easy one? It's not at all an easy one, because brain has its own capability. Brain is it's capable of enormous things to do. We can remember a lot of things, actually much more than computer. We will see an example later on. We can remember a lot of things, and we have something called logic, our own logic and consciousness. That's something which is distinct from living brain compared to a computer. So this transition is not easy. We cannot make a full brain out of computers. An example is here. So what is the problem with the computer? How do we store things in a computer? We actually have a memory unit here. Okay. So we give input, then what happens? Computer accesses it from memory unit. It processes here, and after processing, it gives us an output. So this is usually done using the same bus control. So what happens is that at a time, it can take only one data, it can process it and give it out. So multiple processes are not possible using a single CPU, okay, a single computer. If you want to do multiple processing, what we have to do, we have to use parallel computers. Then it becomes slowly a large cluster of computer. Then it becomes a supercomputer. Then we can do multiple things. But one computer can do only one thing at a time, and that is called the von Neumann bottleneck. So this computer architecture was suggested by von Neumann. So it is called, our normal computers are called based on von Neumann architecture. But this restriction that it can do one process at a time, that is called von Neumann bottleneck. But look at a human brain. We can process hundreds of things at the same time. Actually, without our control, there are a lot of things happening in our body. These are all under control of our brain. So multi-processing or parallel processing is simultaneously happening in our body, which is not happening in a computer. That is where the brain-inspired computation is coming up. And the question is, what, as a physicist or chemistry people, what we can do? Okay, that's the question. So there's a comparison between normal computer and human brain. Okay, look at the memory. The memory for a normal computer is around 64 GB, now 128, maybe 256 GB. But the memory power of human brain is around 1 to 1000 terabyte, okay, TB. So it's very large, basically. But we are not using it. That's the only thing. Okay. Now look at the information speed. So we usually say our internet speed in megabit per second, or 100 Mbps, or 256 Mbps, or 50 Mbps, like that. But you see, at the same time, we are actually hearing running a song with a 256 Mbps. Then it is very clear. Okay, but look at the speed of human brain. Comparing, assuming all the neurons are working at the same time, 1 trillion or 1000 trillion bits per second is that much information is being processed in our brain every second. Okay, 1 trillion or 1000 trillion bits. So that is the speed of information passing in our brain. And how much energy it is taking, that's the most important thing. 10 picojoule per bit processing is done it's needed in a computer. At the same time, in a biological brain, only 10 femtojoule. Okay, that is 1,000 times less than a computer. So biological process is very energy efficient. It is very fast and it's a very high memory process. So why can't we just imitate it and we can make a brain-like memory in our future computers? That's the question. If you look at one synaptic connection, then a synaptic connection means the connection between two neurons in our brain. So every neuron is connected to more than 10,000 other neurons. Okay, so this very high speed is based on the whole connections. Okay, if you take only one connection, it is very less efficient. It is only 200 bits per second only. But if you take one neuron, there are millions of connections, and then it has a very large number of data processing. Okay. So this is how neurons are processing it. We need a little bit of biology here. So you see, this is a neuron, and this is the nucleus of neuron, and this is the cell body. This is called the axon, and at the end of this tail, there are a lot of connections which are called synapse. Okay. So if I zoom in one of these things here, you see this is a synapse. It's a tail, a connection of one neuron, and this is the connection of another neuron. So in between, there are ions exchange. Okay. So ions are exchanging in between, and that's how information is passing from one neuron to another neuron. What type of ions? This can be sodium, can be potassium, this can be calcium. Okay, all these are needed. You know, when sodium is less, people faint down. Memory is lost. So sodium ions are very important. Potassium ions are very important. Calcium is very important. Okay, so all these things are important for memory processing. Okay, so these are ions exchanging from here to here. It is going like that. So how it is going like that? A small caricature is here. This is the end of a neuron. It's called the synapse, and this is the another neuron. Okay, so this is another synapse. So how this thing is happening? For example, you touch your hand, and then you immediately know that okay, there's a touch on your hand. How does it know? How do you know this? So the thing is that when you are touching on your hand, suddenly a train of pulses, current pulses or voltage pulses are going to your brain. So now the voltage pulses are coming here. When the voltage pulses are coming, you see these are gates. Okay, so these small balls are called the synaptic vesicles, and inside that there are neurotransmitters that are the ions like sodium, potassium. All these ions are there. So these ions are actually here inside these small vesicles. Now, what happens is that when there is a voltage spike, as a small signal is coming, a voltage signal is coming, what happens? These are small gates. These green ones are gates, gates operating by calcium ions. Okay. So what happens is that when a spike is coming, this gate will open. These calcium ions will enter inside, and they will attract these vesicles down here. So these vesicles will come here. They will open up, and these ions will be released to this area. Okay, area between two neurons. This is called the synaptic cleft. Cleft means the what's called the space in between these two neurons. Okay, so this is a synaptic connection. It's a synapse. This is another synapse. So this between this there is a small area is there with the fluid there. Okay, so you know that our brain is immersed in a fluid. So this fluid is here. So through this fluid, these ions are actually released. These ions will reach here, and then there's basically ions are moving from one neuron to another neuron, from one hand to another neuron, or one connection to another connection. So basically what happens is that if you keep on receiving these signals, so continuously ions are passing this way. So that means that conduction path is now clear. Okay, so this conduction path becomes very stronger. And these are muscles. These are composed of proteins. So what happens? This protein, this lineage, this line of proteins will become very strong, and that's how we store memory. So that if you are taking MRI, you can actually see that the places where memory is stored, those muscles are stronger because synaptic connections are stronger. How they are stronger? They are stronger because of the conduction channels. Okay. So the conduction channels becomes more and more conducting. When you touch several times, that is remembered in our memory. Or if I am telling you a very difficult word for the first time, you may not remember it. But if I keep on telling you the word 100 times, 1,000 times, you will immediately remember that word. So how is that happening? When I am telling it, the neurons from the ears actually they are transmitting the voltage. That voltage is called action potential, and that action potential is creating certain channels more conducting, and that channels become stronger, and then that's how you remember it. Okay, this is biology. So now the question is, can we convert this into a device using materials and physics what we learn? Okay, so that's the question. Then we can make an artificial neuron. Okay, so this is how things are working. So this is it's called pre-synapse and this is post-synapse, because this synaptic connection, this is one hand of a neuron. It is releasing ions and this is capturing the ions. So there is a current passing through, the current of ions through a liquid medium, and that is how the information is passing through. So this connection becomes stronger and stronger when you are getting more and more pulses. This is an example of a synaptic action potential. Action potential means when you touch or when you hear or when you see the electric pulses that are going to your brain. So this kind of action potentials are going there, and your neurons are releasing these ions. That's how you remember things. Basically, we can make this. I'm going a little fast because we lost a lot of time. I lost because of me. So I take the responsibility of that. So what happens is that, suppose I'm telling you something very slow in volume. What happens is that you have action potentials coming here, like spikes. Now, if I'm increasing my volume, I'm telling something very loud. What happens? It is not the amplitude of this one, but the frequency of these potentials becomes larger. That is how our brain understands that, oh, the volume has increased. Or the light, for example, we are seeing something in a very feeble light. Action potentials are with a lower frequency. A very strong light is coming or high intensity light is coming. Our eyes immediately, the retina, the iris becomes, the opening becomes smaller. How does it know? The brain sees that more and more high frequency action potentials are coming. So in response, it sends a potential back to our retina, and our eyes become smaller at very strong light, okay, high intensity. So it is not the amplitude, but the frequency increases when the sense is increasing. That means for example, the volume is increasing, light is increasing. Okay, so this is what is happening. So if you do this, okay, so this is called this current versus pulse. Okay, this is for a real device. I will show you how to measure this. So multiple times you are hearing one thing. What happens is that the potentiation, that means the channel conductivity, the conductivity of that channel increases. And if you are doing reverse processing, that means if you are reverting the current, what happens is that becomes weaker and weaker. Okay, so you can increase the memory by repetition, but this is a different process. Okay, this is called depression. That means you can use using certain medicines, for example, using certain electric pulses. You can actually do the reverse things. If that happens, people will lose their memory. So this is called depression. This is called potentiation. Potentiation is the thing what we are doing when we are learning something. Repetition, by repeatedly hearing or repeatedly reading. This is what we are doing. So we are increasing the synaptic current. So that synapse gets stronger, and then we remember things. Okay. So opposite polarity will reduce our memory, and that also can happen. Okay, so potentiation and depression. These are standard terms we use in this technology. Okay. So comparing to brain, you see, on an average, there are around 100 billion neurons in our brain, and every neuron has more than 10,000 connections. Okay, that means synaptic connections. So that means on an average, there are as many as around 1,000 trillion synaptic connections are there, and each connection can do parallel processing. So basically, it is like computers which are connected in parallel, small computers with a very less power or processing power connected to each other, but there are 1,000 trillion connections are there. So it is equivalent to one computer with a 1 trillion bit per second. Okay, very fast, very highly able computer. So so if you estimate human brain's memory capacity, it varies widely from 1 to 1,000 terabits memory we have. What is that equivalent to? There are two examples given here. Human, if you just remember one thing consistently, we can actually remember the entire 19 million volumes of US Library Congress books. That is around 10 terabits data. We can remember it, but the entire lifetime we have to dedicate only for remembering this. Okay, then we can actually, if we use the entire power of, this is the maximum power of brain. Okay, people actually, even Einstein said to have used only 12% of his entire brain capacity. Okay, we may be using 1 to 2%, 2 to 3%, depending upon people. But if you are using 100% power, we can remember everything. Or you see a TV show that is running continuously for 300 years, people can remember if you use total power of the brain. Okay, that's just a comparison. Okay, it's a machine versus brain comparison. So this is the problem when we are trying to use computers to simulate brains. Okay, IBM a few years ago, they wanted to simulate a cat's brain, some functions of a cat's brain, not even complete functions. Okay, some functions of a cat's brain. They had to use 1.5 lakhs computer, okay, in series to create, and each computer with a 144 terabit memory. Then only they could simulate some of the functions of a cat's brain. So when you come to full function of a human brain, this is going to be a different story. Okay, so that is a technological challenge if you want to replace one neuron by one computer. Okay, that's basically impossible. So that's why where we have to find out new solutions. So this is where a new technology called neuromorphic computing is coming up. What is neuromorphic? Neuromorphic means neuro, means our neurons. Morphic means imitating. So imitating neurons, how we can do computing. That is the question. Okay. And these are the requirements for that. We need a very large bit density, 10 terabits or more we need. So that much power we need, that much memory we need in 1 inch square. 1 square inch, we need 10 terabit to store. That's enormous. We know in our USB stick, we can store maybe maximum 1 GB or maybe, no, not 1 GB, maybe 256 GB at the moment. So that is per centimeter square. But the requirement for making a artificial brain possible, we need much more than 10 terabit in the same area. Okay. Parallel processing should be possible, which means that our current computer architecture is not sufficient, and it has to be very, very fast. It has to be energy efficient, otherwise it will get hit up. A lot of energy consumption will be there. Okay. So yeah, these are the standard slides I used to show everywhere. You see, this is 60 years back, the first supercomputer being shipped, and the capacity of that supercomputer was only just 5 MB. This is a 5 MB hard disk being shipped by IBM in 1956, and that is getting into a ship for transportation. Now you see, 5 MB is nothing but it is as small as a film music, right? If you are saving a film song in your USB stick, that is around 5 MB. That is all the capacity of this machine. This is called a supercomputer at that time. But you see, after 60 years, just like the computers, okay, now 256 GB is on our thumb. So that is the difference of technology. That is how the technology grows. Okay, so okay, these are standard things. I will skip. I will go through it very fast. The reason behind from this technology to this technology is that this technology used vacuum tubes as transistors. Vacuum tubes are large and they are a lot of energy consuming. They are also very fragile. But here we use transistors, silicon transistors, semiconductor transistors. So from vacuum tubes to semiconductor transistors is the technology revolution that happened in this huge impact in technology. Okay, so William Shockley, John Bardeen, and Petain, they were responsible for this great discovery. And this was around the time of Second World War. They discovered the first transistor, and in 20 years' time, it became a revolutionary technology. This is the first IC ever made. You see, this is a paste of 3 semiconductors pasted on top together, and there is a resistor also put together. So then this is a resistor with the transistor. It became an IC, integrated circuit. Okay, and afterwards, this person here is Gordon Moore, from which Moore's law came up. Moore's law actually says that every year the number of transistors double on a chip. So that means he predicted using the initial first point that the number of transistors going to be doubled every year in an IC. But you see, when he predicted that there were only 100 transistors on an IC, at this moment, we have 4 billion transistors on an IC. Okay, so 4 billion transistors are there in 1 centimeter square area. At that time, when it was started, it was only less than 100 transistors. Now we have 4 billion transistors. So that is how the memory has evolved. Okay, so this is how, when the number of transistors per area, okay, on a given area is increasing, that means every transistor becomes smaller and smaller. If you look at this, you see Moore's law predicted that in 2012, the channel length of a transistor will be only 22 nanometer. Okay, and in 2019, the prediction is that it will be only 5 nanometer. 5 nanometer means we are dealing with less than 10 silicon atoms. So you see, even with the 5 nanometer technology, if a transistor, active part of a transistor is only 5 nanometer, we cannot still reach our brain's capacity. Okay, we are still far away from brain's capacity. That's because brain is 3-dimensional, but our ICs are only 2-dimensional. On a surface, we are creating ICs. We cannot put ICs on top of each other. I think that we have a slide for that. One thing I wanted to show is that, you see, this is our famous or notorious corona or cold virus. The size of that virus is around 40 nanometer, the diameter. And that is the size of a transistor almost 3 years back. Okay, now we are at 7 nanometer technology. That means the channel length of the transistor is only 7 nanometer. Probably you know that by doing X-ray diffraction, we can calculate the d-spacing of materials, crystals, right? The distance between planes of a crystal. And that is of the order of 5 angstrom, 4 to 5 angstrom. That means half nanometer. So 7 nanometer means it's around 15 atoms. Okay, so 15 atoms are there in our transistor channel. So going further, we have a problem because you may have learned particle in a box problem, where if you put an electron in a small particles in a small box, what happens? You have discretization of energy levels. Energy levels becomes discrete. There is no band, then there's only discrete energy levels. So our transistors will not work. Okay. So in that case, going for beyond 7 nanometer is a very big challenge. Even if you go to 5 nanometer or 2 nanometer, we are still far away from the capacity of our brain. So that's where we have to think about something else. Okay, so to increase the bit density, there are several, the memory density, there are several proposals are already there. 1956, we had only 2000 bit in 1 square inch space. 2007, we have almost 750. Now it's okay, it's not that much, it's a different technology, but around 700 gigabits per square inch is possible. Okay, so 10 raised to 8 times growth in the bit density. So we are not bad. We are almost coming there. Okay, so a lot of technologies are already there. The problem with the transistors is that transistors are like that. And if I don't have time, but basically every bit we are storing in our USB stick. Basically, it is a transistor. Okay, 1 bit is 1 transistor. So if you are saving 5 MB song in your USB stick, 5 into mega, 5 MB. Okay, 5 into mega is 5 into 10 raised to 6. 8 bit is 1 byte. So 8 into 5 into 10 raised to 6. So we have 4 into 10 raised to 7 transistors. Okay, 40 million transistors we are programming when you are saving 1 film song of 5 MB. The problem is that you see these are the transistors are already fabricated here, and there are a lot of connections on top of it for connecting the source and drain and gate, everything. So it is not possible to make another set of transistors here because that is a very difficult process. So multi-dimensional, I mean, our brain is 3-dimensional, but our transistors are 2-dimensional. That is the main problem now. So if we can make our memory devices just like brain 3-dimensional, we can even store much more. Okay. So there are a lot of concepts people have come up with. For example, this is called millipede technology. Millipede technology is that you have a polymer sheet there, and with a lot of small needles, you can make punch mark there. So small holes there. If there's a hole, that is bit 1. If there's no hole, it is bit 0. So you can actually convert everything into ones and zeros, binaries. You can store the data. Okay. There is a racetrack memory, that is magnetic memories also is there. That they are offering 1 terabit per square inch. This technology is offering 1 terabit again per square inch. There's something called the polymer memory. If you are applying electric field across certain polymers, they will reorient. Okay, they will reorient so that their conductivity will change. Because of the electric field, molecules will reorient themselves so that their conductivity will be different. So that is called polymer memory, and that's called a resistive memory. That is offering at the moment the highest practical memory density. That is 10 terabit per square inch. Okay. People have shown theoretically that Stanford research, they have using the electronic wave function and their holographic possibilities to make a hologram out of electron waves. They have shown that the maximum we can store is 10 raised to 18 bits per square inch. Okay, so just to tell the possibilities. I will skip this one for the time being because there's no time. So one of the possibilities of making three-dimensional memory is called resistive random access memory. Okay, so don't worry about this random access memory part. This is just a resistive memory. As I told you, if you can distinguish between two things, we can say that it's a memory. You just take a paper, you take a pencil and make a dot. That's a memory. So we can call that dot 1. And if there is no dot, that is 0. If there is again dot 1. So if you want to convert anything into binaries, 1 and 0s, you can arrange these dots accordingly. Just like that, the state of the resistance of a material also can be used. Okay, how do we do that? For example, unfortunately, this works in a movie mode. So I will explain how it is. Take a dielectric material which is not conducting here, okay, and metal on both sides. So that means between two metals, you have a dielectric, which is nothing but a capacitor. It's a capacitor. You apply voltage here, and what happens is that this metal has a property. Usually these materials are like aluminum, it can be silver or copper, this kind of materials. Suppose this is silver. So this is silver, and in between you have a dielectric material, say aluminum oxide, alumina or ceramic is a dielectric material. So this is aluminum oxide, on top and bottom you have silver. If you're applying voltage, what happens is that these silver ions will slowly diffuse inside. Okay. Now what happens at certain voltage, so initially it's a dielectric, so the current is very small. So now at a certain moment, what happens is that these ions which are dissolving inside, they will create a they will short circuit between these two metals. So they will create a conducting bridge between these two metals. It will short circuit, you see, sudden jump of a current. So initial state of this capacitor was very low current. We can say bit 0. Okay, and once it is broken, current is now you see current is very large. It will follow another line because now you have made a connection between these two. Very large current flows through. So you switched on the device basically. So that on state is called bit 1. Okay. Now what happens if you are reducing the current back? What happens? These ions which are dissolved here, they will come back because they are ions. They are not atoms. They are ions. So if you reverse this voltage, this bridge will break and it will come back to its original state. So by making the bridge, you can set it on, and breaking the bridge by reverse voltage, you can set it off. So you see, you can do this 1 million times. If you can do this 1 million times, switching on and off, basically you have a very good memory. Okay. Now, this is very, very simple comparing to complicated transistors. Transistors, you need a lot of connections, a lot of things you need there. Transistor needs at least 3 connections, base, emitter, or collector, or in CMOS, it is source, drain, gate. Okay. Here, nothing is there. It's just a capacitor and given connection between. Okay. Now, so many advantages are there. Now, the question is how to use it. So basically, if 3 capacitors, suppose I have 3 capacitors like here. Okay. So I want to write 1, 1, 0. So just apply a pulse of voltage here, a nanosecond pulse, a very quick pulse. What happens? Suddenly there's a breakage. So that voltage of the pulse should be larger than this voltage. This is called set voltage. Okay, set process, reset process. So if I have the voltage larger than the set process, what will happen? Suddenly a bridge will be forming here. It will be on. So this capacitor is in state 1, okay, bit 1. Then I want to make 110. So next capacitor, apply voltage across it, a voltage pulse that will be broken. So you have again 1. The next one you leave it as it is. it is a high resistance state. Okay, so it's in this state. So 1, 1, 0. You simply have to apply voltage pulses, and you have to just measure the resistance of these devices. You can read the memory. So that's simple it is. Okay, so this is a highly demanding memory technology which is coming up. Okay, so now what happens? So this is called the resistive memory, resistance switching, or resistive random access memory technology. And you see now we are talking about two things. We don't have to apply a continuous voltage. We can apply a voltage pulse. Okay. So in brain, there is no direct current. There is no current signal is passing as a direct current. It's pulses of signal are going on there. Okay. So this is okay. Keep this in mind. There are several processes happening there. This is not important at the moment. You see, this is how when you are applying the voltage, the channel is forming. When you reverse the voltage, the channel is breaking. So this is on, this is off process. Okay. So several processes are there. These channels are called filament, conducting filaments. So this can be vacancies. This can be atoms from the electrodes. This can be oxidation reduction happening at the metal electrode, because if it is aluminum, what happens is that it will form an aluminum oxide here. So aluminum oxide will form. When you reverse the voltage, this oxygen will escape back to the medium. So aluminum oxide is a insulating material, so resistance will increase. And when it loses oxygen, again, it will become the normal resistance. So there are 4 different processes are happening. Molecular orientation, like we said in the case of polymers, that also will happen. Okay, so any of these materials, if you take different materials, these are the four processes that are happening there. Okay, so this is the thing. So this is, for example, we used a PMMA. PMMA is polymethyl methacrylate. That's basically a very ordinary organic material, which is like plastic. You can actually spin coat on a surface. It will be like a plastic film there. And you put some aluminum or silver on top of it, and you just measure it. You can see that initially the resistance is very, very high because there is no current passing through it. It's a very, very large resistance. Suddenly there is a breakage because silver ions are going through it. And if you reverse it at a certain point, it will come back. The silver ions, this bridge is breaking, and you have again resistance, high resistance. So you can create the memory. By reversing the voltage, you can erase the memory. So creating and erasing is possible there. Okay. Okay, there are several materials we have tried. This was published in Applied Physics Letters. This is using graphene oxide. How we can make, we can even determine, we can even change. So you see, if you take one material of a certain thickness, this voltage will be fixed. So if you want to change it according to your applications, for example, in a computer, higher voltage is available. In a mobile phone, around 3.8 volt is available. So you cannot, because the battery is there. So depending upon your application, if you want to change the voltage, we found that if you apply a gate voltage, you can, like a transistor now, like a gate voltage, we can change the set voltage. Okay, so that was the content of the paper, using perovskite material, which are now very high demand, which are of very high demand at the moment. So we found that if you change the chlorine content in a perovskite, for example, chlorine, bromine, we tried all the different halogen materials here. So if you change the chlorine content, we can again tune the set voltage. Okay, so like that, there are several papers are there. Now, how it is actually given in a real device? Because we actually need billions or trillions of devices, not just one or two. Okay, so this is how it is arranged. So you see, these are conducting lines, gold lines or silver lines, right? And there are crossed lines. In between, we put this material. Okay, this switching material. So this is one device. So we have 9 devices here. For example, if you want to program this middle one, this one, what you have to do, you have to apply voltage across this one and here. So that will break, or that will program only the middle one, because there are no voltages here, no voltage there. So only the middle one will be broken. If you want to break this one, you apply voltage across this one and this one. So only this will. So you can actually select any device, and if you can actually write basically whichever data you want. Okay. It also has an advantage that we can put it 3-dimensionally. On top of this, you can put another material, another line, another material, another line. So this has a possibility of arranging in 3 dimensions. Okay. This is something what we prepared in our lab. So this is a memory. This is not very high. This is a memory of 256 bits only. But still, that's a starting of our research. 256 bits we created like that, and using programmed Arduino, for example, we can actually select whichever bit we want to select. We can store 256 bits. Okay, that was the memory capacity of the initial mobile phone. Okay, and people have even shown that even close to several gigabytes or terabytes we can actually store in 1 centimeter square, because you see the bit width is now only 8 nanometer. People have shown that several terabytes of memory can be stored in this way. Okay, so like that you can actually build up in a 3-dimensional way. There's a crossbar. This is called crossbar because crossing bars. Okay, so crossbar technologies is a technology now. They are coming up with a 1 terabit per square inch, and there were some technical reasons, I guess, so that it did not come to the market at that time. But there are now several companies coming up with so Toshiba also is coming up with you see 4 GB. This is a technology at the initial phase. Okay, so it is coming up only. So this is how technology comes into market. When it starts, it will be expensive and the memory power will be less. But in 5 years' time, the technology will be mature enough so that it will be very less expensive, or it will be cost cheaper, and with many much more memory data. Okay, memory capacity. So it's coming up. Okay, so it's already in the market. So how a neural network in action, very quickly, the same material. Okay, the same material. Now we are going to turn this into a neuron. So the same material here. Now this is the electrode. This is another electrode. One thing different is that we add a little bit of ions here. For example, this is a hafnium oxide. This material is hafnium oxide. Some manganese is already put here. Now see, this part is manganese rich. This part is free of manganese. So what happens? It gives a gradient of manganese. Now you put a pulse here. Manganese ions are positive ions. So you put positive here and negative here. You apply a pulse here. What happens? These ions will move towards this electron. So what happens now for electrons to travel from here to here or from here to here? Okay, from here to here, if the electron wants to travel, it can jump over this place. Okay, and then it can come here. That means the conductivity of this material is now larger than conductivity of this material, because from here to here, an electron wants to travel, it has to jump from here to here. That is very difficult. But here, it can actually hop through. It can actually jump over through these ions, and it can reach here. So you see, suddenly we change the conductivity of the material by applying a potential. This is very similar to the action potential in our brain, in our neurons. Okay, so now if you reverse it, what will happen? These ions will move back. Then you will have the previous state again. Okay. So yeah, if you do the same current versus the memory experiment here, the more pulses you are applying, what happens? You can remember better. The device remembers that, oh, I have more action potential, so it remembers better. That means more distribution of ions will be here, so conductivity will be increasing. That's why current is increasing. If you are reversing it, what happens? These ions will go back, and you have a sudden drop in the conductivity. So you can remember things, and you can force to forget it. Okay, so it's called forced forgetting. That means a depression. Okay, so potentiation and depression are possible just by applying potential action potentials. Okay, external voltage pulses. There's another material. This is silicon. So basically, this was amorphous silicon, and then a little bit of silver is doped here. So silver is put here. So if you do the same thing will happen. Silver ions will move here, and depending upon the distribution of silver ions, the conductivity will change. So people are working on this kind of artificial materials which are defective. Okay, materials with other elements added to it for the application of neural networks. Okay, and you see this material acts very nice like a neuron. You see, this is how you are remembering it. If you are applying reverse potential, this is how the device forgets it. And there is something called, if you play with this timing of these pulses, it actually shows something called EPSC. Okay, that's a programmed synaptic current. Okay, so this current, synaptic current. What happens is that it increases and it also decreases here. So it shows how nicely a neuron behaves. If the synaptic cleft is open before the potassium ions are coming, what happens? No transmission will happen there. It has to be extremely well timed. That means when the ions are coming, it has to open. Then there's a connection established. But if it is opening before the synaptic clefts are opening, or much longer, much later, then in both cases memory will not be established. That's what is this diagram is showing. But the memory neurons using silicon, you see the distribution of points here. This is much more reliable, right? So even more reliable than the neuron it behaves. So nicely behaves. Basically, this is the actual neuron, biological neuron. This is a electronic neuron. Okay, using the silver doped silicon devices. And there are a lot of materials. This is quantum dots of cesium lead bromate. Okay, bromate. So you can see these are nicely arranged quantum dots. They are actually using these quantum dots as the oxide of a transistor, of a field of a transistor. And then if you are applying gate voltage, the gate voltage will activate these quantum dots. So you can see there's a change in the drain source current. And that also has a lot of advantages. The advantage is that you can program it electrically. And when you shine light, these electrons will be lost and then it is off. So you can program it electrically and reset it. Okay, so reverse program it by optical excitation. So that also is possible. So it looks like a semi-neural, say optical neuron in our eyes. So programmable by optics, by shining light. Okay. So a lot of applications are there for there. You see, this is basically recognition of data. For example, this P is written there. How we can recognize data using neuromorphic devices. For example, there's an F written here. If it's very strong, current will be, that means if you're shining light and program it more times. Okay, so just like the remembering by voltage pulses, by optical pulses also you can strengthen the synaptic connections. So you see more light you are shining, that F will be stronger. That means these are all arrays of neuromorphic devices. Okay. So here you see it is L is written, more light shining, you can write that L very easily. So that basically, just like our optical neurons in our retina, we can use these materials to identify images, to identify data, to identify patterns. That's very important. Neural networks, neuromorphic devices are now used for identifying patterns. For example, when you are using internet banking or something, there's a captcha we have to write down. And we have to prove that we are not a robot. But if you are using neuromorphic systems, you can identify, that system can identify what is the captcha written there, because it can do pattern identification very easily than conventional computation. Okay, so that's a threat also, because it's a threat for the security or internet security, because captcha can be online automatically captured by neuromorphic systems. Okay. Okay, so the more frequency and the amplitude you are giving, the memory power will be larger. This is the only thing here. So if you want to make a band pass filter, so you just want to pass only, for example, these frequencies, you can use it like that. So you use the high frequency so that memory will be larger. That means if I'm cutting this frequency here, only at these frequencies the signal will be passed through. So that means not only as a memory, we can use it also as a bandpass filter. So more electronic applications are coming for this simple device, this capacitive device. Okay, we also did something like that. We used a molybdenum disulfide quantum dot. Okay, then what happened? This quantum dot is a semiconducting quantum dot. And since it is a quantum dot, very small structure, it's only 4 nanometer or 3 nanometer in size. So a few atoms are there. And we used a metal tip here. This is a scanning tunneling microscope. So we brought that tip very close to each other, and there's a voltage applied. So what happens is that electrons will tunnel from the tip to the surface, or from molybdenum, this quantum dot to the tip. So we can amplify this current and measure this current. By shining with the blue LED, what we can do is that we can excite a lot of electrons here. More current, tunneling current will be here. So this is just like a single neuron, right? Because this is a synaptic cleft, and this is a synapse, and this is a synaptic cleft, and this is another synapse. So by tunneling, we are getting electrons here when we are shining the light. So by optical pulsing, we can see how good a neuron is this one. So this is a work which we are writing a paper on it. So what happens is that we used an Arduino controlled LED setup to shine pulsed light here. So these are arrays of quantum dots, and then we used different pulses of light here. So what happened is that, for example, these are the quantum dots, the arrays of quantum dots. So you can select one of them and shine light on it, and you can see that there is a memory in a single quantum dot. So we think, as of we know now, this is the smallest neuron developed ever, because this is just one quantum dot. So you see this is around 20 nanometer, but one quantum dot is only 2 nanometer in size. Okay, so you can see that the memory is increasing with increasing the light pulsing. I will quickly stop it because I think the time is almost up. So different light we can shine, and it's a red light, green light, and without light we can actually see. So when you shine light, we can see that the PPF means paired pulse facilitation. That with respect to the previous pulse, how much increase is there? That is this one. Okay. So with the increasing the duty cycle, all these things, the synapse. Basically, this is an optical action potential. We are giving action potential like light pulses. Okay. So we can actually see that a lot of, this is very promising, basically. So this is the smallest neuron we can ever make, and that will create more than terabits memory per square inch. Okay. So these are examples. I will just skip it. This is also the same thing. We recently published a paper using an array of, just a film of these quantum dots, and then we again tried it. We can actually see that very nice memory remembering, and using reverse potential we can also create depression here. Okay, so remembering and forgetting, forced forgetting. So forced remembering, forced forgetting, so that we can do that. So it was published in Scientific Reports last month. So this is basically it. So what we can do is that then you can create it three-dimensionally. Okay, this is not possible using our standard silicon technology. Silicon technology means a standard CMOS technology. But using this simple technique, the resistive memory device technology, we can create it like this, three-dimensional. So you see, this is a piece of brain with a lot of neurons three-dimensionally collected. Okay, and that's almost the end of the talk. So here, what we are doing is that, you see, memory is very important, because it's not only memory. Using the logic also is important for. You see, I guess you know already Sophia. She's the first humanoid to get a citizenship. So our technology, artificial intelligence and robotic technology, hand in hand, has reached a level where a robot is getting a citizenship even. So the next level of it is whether it will have its own consciousness. That you can actually look into the interviews of Sophia with different people, how the answers are coming up, how close it is to a human response. Okay, so you see, this is again a beginning. Artificial intelligence can take over, and it will be an enormous development in the technology. So from 5 to 10 years, or 10 to 20 years maximum, the current computer technology will change. In 20 years, that computer technology what we are using now will not be the technology 20 years from now, because artificial intelligence is already taking up a lot. Neuromorphic technology is already coming up as a very prominent technology. A lot of research is happening all over the world. A lot of systems has been already developed, like networking systems, like data recognition, speech recognition, to help people with disabilities. A lot of things are coming up. Okay. So the last slide is something just to show how much how many technologies we can create from this. So this is just a memory technology. Let's say resistive memory technology and transistor technology together. If we have an ideal ReRAM, we can actually get ultra-fast computation, artificial synapse, quantum bit processing also is possible. Okay, from that we can have ultra-high data density neuromorphic chips we can develop from artificial intelligence, from physics to artificial intelligence it will reach. If you have a fluctuating ReRAM, that means a very bad memory device. And if we can use it for flexible electronics, cryptography we can use because it's always changing with respect to time. So physically unclonable function, that means secure data security. It can be used on your bank card or your personal cards for a security. Display technology can be used, wearable electronics can be used. So it will give us devices which can act for quantum cryptography and other display based domestic applications. So the possibilities are enormous. That's what I wanted to say. By just imitating our brain in technology. So we can say that it's a neuron on silicon or brain on chip technology. Okay, it's a very big research area which is coming up worldwide. Okay, I think I took a lot of time, but just wrapping up, resistive random access memory is the key to solve the von Neumann bottleneck. That means current classical computing limitations. Neuromorphic devices offer parallel processing capability and three-dimensional architecture also. So that means that we can do a much more optimization, much more bit density in that technology. So several applications have been already developed using for artificial intelligence together with the neural network algorithms. So currently we are using classical silicon-based CMOS technology plus neural network. Now, if you are using neuromorphic technology together with the neural network algorithms, that will be really revolutionary. That's already happening. Okay. So the challenges are process optimization, material aspects, keeping in mind ultra-low energy consumption. So a lot of material systems we have to develop to cope up with the energy because currently in a computer, as I told you before, 1 bit takes 1 picojoule. So it's not a small energy, but in a biological brain, 1 bit processing takes only 1 femtojoule. That means 1,000 times less. So we have to find out better materials which are less power consuming and more efficient, comparing to silicon, for example, or even silicon with different material combinations. So these are the challenges. And I usually always say that this is something very easy to start with as a research project because you see, all what you need is a resistance measurement system and a capacitor, a facility to make a capacitor. A capacitor can be made very easily if you have a spin coating system. You take a piece of metal, that's the bottom electrode, you spin coat insulator on top, and you just deposit metal on top of it. Okay, and then you measure it. You can see that this is working wonderful as a resistive memory device. To my surprise, there was the first biological resistive memory was reported in scientific reports. That was nothing but just egg white. Okay, the white part of the egg. They just beated it, and then they made an omelette out of it. Okay, by spin coating this beaten egg white, they spin coated on a surface and annealed, heated it so that it becomes basically an omelette. Okay, so became a filling. Even that shows excellent neuromorphic behavior. Okay, that was just a demonstration that even biological things we can use in this technology. So saying that this discussion was more or less on a challenge on the computing side. Artificial intelligence is something which is very, very vast, and from physics or material science or chemistry aspects, how we can develop devices, materials and devices, and how they can be used for upcoming artificial intelligence application. That was all what I wanted to share here. Once again, I am sorry for the initial mess up. So I hope you were able to pick up something at least from here, at least a new topic which is coming up. And in 10 years from now, a lot of applications of neuromorphic devices and artificial intelligence together you will be witnessing. So it is good to have a basis of that right now. Thank you very much. And this is my, okay, you can actually contact me in this Gmail if you have questions. Unfortunately, I don't know about the time, but if you have more questions, you can simply email me.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yeah, please.
Sir, actually, the basic properties of entire living system is ability to resist, ability to accept, and ability to reject. Okay.
Yeah.
Due to the deficiency of this, any one of this, we loses the immunity power.
Right.
Then why can't we use this neuromorphic system to improve this immunity power? Is it possible?
It's a bit complicated because brain has its own functions, its own way of functioning. Okay, so what we are talking about is basically, you see, immunity system is a response to certain things by brain. Okay, for example, some part is infected. Suddenly, brain reacts because it is getting the information that there's an infection. So brain reacts and releases, for example, white blood cells or whatever is required to cope up. So that is similar to a neuromorphic system where we do something and then information is passing to a neuromorphic system. It is accepting that information and suddenly reacting to that. Okay, so we have several systems in electronics, like for example, the safety bag in your car. For example, a car is suddenly stopping, the airbag is opening up. So that's a reaction mechanism. There, artificial intelligence can do a lot of things, but within human system, whether artificial intelligence can increase the immunity, that's a very complicated question because that is done by brain. We cannot, at the moment, we cannot implant anything in the brain to control the brain. Okay, that may be possible. To know that, we have to know how brain is functioning electrically. And
yes, sir.
Yeah,
sir.
So
I heard some research shows. No, below, if our brain potential is come down to about 50 millivolt, that will make cancer cells. Okay, I think if we can create this type synaptic current externally or this neuromorphic system externally, we can avoid the cancer cell also.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I will tell you another example. For example, when the brain potential, the fluid potential goes down, it's not only cancer. The first symptom is a seizure, epilepsy. Okay, epileptic seizure comes.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So actually, when I was working in Philips, we had a. We were thinking about patenting it. We can actually put a chip on top of the skull, and with a small feedback system, so that when the potential drops down, you can immediately see that the potential is dropping down, so the person has a chance of getting an epilepsy. Okay, so that is giving a warning, and secondly, giving a potential back to the system to keep up that brain potential, so that the person will not have a epilepsy problem. But getting a signal from brain is easy, but giving a signal to brain is very complicated because we don't know, again, how the electrical functioning of a brain, we have no idea. You might have seen that earlier when people with a mental disorder, they were given shock treatments. And that was a very crude and very crude experiment because it was not sure that every person gets cured, but some people get cured because of the shock treatment. Okay, and to be honest, we have no idea how this large electric field is influencing the brain. But we know that the entire brain neural system has totally electrically connected, and that's why we are getting something called electrical waves outside, alpha, beta, gamma waves, and we can even
alpha, beta, gamma, theta. I think so. Five. They are divided into 5. I think
5 exactly. And we can even detect it using an encephalogram, right? EEG.
Yeah.
So that's how it is working. But giving back a signal is complicated. We don't even know what will be the after effect of it.
Okay.
Getting a signal is easy because it's functioning naturally. We are just taking a signal out. But to give a instruction to the brain, we need to know how electrically it is functioning.
Is there any research going on that side?
Lot of, actually, to be honest, because even one of my close friend in Germany, in Max Planck Institute, they are working on the electrical response of brain. They are working.
If we can tune our brain to 7.8 hertz or 8 hertz something, no, I think it is the universal vibrating frequency. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
We can communicate with the Earth, means universe also.
Yes, I mean that part also. Quite a lot of research is needed. You see, there's always a hurdle in between. Okay, that's we are going a little bit philosophical. There was a paper in Journal of Physics D, I think almost 20 years back. That paper was telling that how to connect physics and consciousness. Okay,
yes, consciousness is still now in philosophy, no? Yeah.
Philosophy, yeah. Physics has not accepted as it is as a science, but it's a science. We know it's an existing thing. So,
okay, thank you.
We need a revolution on that part, like a quantum.
Okay.
Thanks for that. That was an excellent question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. So, any more questions?
Sir?
Yeah.
There is a question from Revati Krishna.
Okay.
Sir, artificial intelligence and neuroscience are vast developing.
Yeah.
So whether it has a negative effect on people?
It will have. Every technology has positive and negative effect. Okay. Every technology will have positive and negative effects. Positive effects, for example, I'll tell you a negative effect of a current technology. We have well-developed software programs. At the same time, we have viruses also, right? Software, electronic viruses, which can kill a computer very easily. We can hack a computer very easily. Now you see, artificial intelligence has, if it is entering into that domain, it will be deadly, because if you are creating an artificial intelligence-based virus, okay, it can hack a firewall very easily. It can hack a computer very easily. So on the other side also, the protection of a computer also should be equally important. It is just like a war between two intellects. Okay, so that inversion we always have to be careful. And there will be definitely every technology has a bad impact also, but we have to live with it. Okay.
Sir, some questions are posted by our participants, and one is mind mapping reliable? That's one question.
Okay, again, we are entering into a realm of maybe philosophy, because mind is something different. I don't know how it is. Brain mapping is there. We have several type of machines are there to see what is happening in a brain, and we can even. I think what is happening there is actually you're talking about this what's called light test, right? Or
yes, sir.
If that is the case, I mean, before we tell a lie, we think twice. Okay, that's a brain process. So there's a spike in the signal. So that's what is mapped there. Okay, because a lie is something against our understanding. You see, there is a neuromorphic concept in it. Neuromorphic concept is that we are learning something. All what I showed you, this potentiation, that is a learning curve. So we are purposefully teaching the brain neurons that this is the truth. But when you are against that already stored memory or stored information, your brain has to work against it. That is what is mapped in this. Okay. So if you map the EEG, the electroencephalogram, the brain waves which are coming out, suddenly there is a spike in the signal. So that is what is mapped there.
Okay, sir. Another question is.
It's reliable based on the statistics. Okay. Based on the statistics.
Okay, sir.
That is a reliable technology.
So another question is there, that is, in what all fields neuroscience has its effects other than electronics?
Neuroscience, sir? You see,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Yeah, we are talking about electronics. Okay, we are not talking about neuroscience. We are actually bringing neuroscience into electronics. We are trying to imitate the nature, right? So
Okay, sir.
just like the answer I told to the first question, we can actually control certain things in neurons. For example, drug delivery to the brain. For example, the biggest problem is that if brain has an infection or a disease, the main problem is that the medicines are not reaching there because there is something called a blood-brain barrier. So whatever blood carries to the brain, it is filtered there just before the brain. So there, nanotechnology can do a lot of things. So that's a different thing. It's not a neuromorphic device. Nanotechnology can do a lot of things there. So that's called a nanomedicine. So that's a different thing.
Is it blood-brain barrier potential?
Yeah, there is a blood-brain barrier potential, but only certain molecules which are smaller than certain dimension can penetrate inside.
I think it can be improved by this optics or electronics or nanotechnology.
It may be, but you see, again, putting something inside the brain has its own consequences. Okay, probably you know that.
Sure.
That is a very. I mean, this part is going to be developed in years. That's what I was saying. How the electronic functioning of the brain happens. That's an area of very big research at the moment. Definitely, that will improve.
Okay, sir. Two participants have asked about the negative effects of artificial intelligence on people.
That's what I for the second question. That was the same thing. The negative impact of artificial intelligence is that technology can be misused. For example, when you are booking, when you are doing a bank transaction, okay, you have to write a code there, right? I mean, a captcha word, some 7G, ABC, like that. That if you are using artificial intelligence, the system itself can recognize that word and it can write there. So however complicated you write, the system can, a neuromorphic system can recognize that because there's something called pattern recognition. So the recently developed neuromorphic systems can very easily recognize patterns there, just like human eye, or even better than that. So if that happens, what happens? The bank security is gone, right? In the cryptography part, if neuromorphic systems can actually decode whatever emails we are writing, for example. So emails is encrypted and only the sending person and the receiving person can read it. But if it is possible to hack it, so the hacking will be a big problem in artificial intelligence. Okay, hacking will be a big problem. All type of what's called malwares, viruses can be there. So that will be very difficult, very challenging, I would say.
Sir, can I ask next question?
Yeah, please.
The next question was how brain control devices works.
Once again, how brain controls?
Control devices works.
You mean brain control devices?
Yeah.
What do you mean by brain control devices?
Actually, the question is from one of the students, Navaneet.
I don't know what exactly he means by brain control devices.
Actually, there are devices coming right now, like it can be controlled via our brains. Like that, some devices are coming right now. Some are in the beta stage and all. So actually,
one thing is that, I mean, we you see there are certain devices which function based on the electrical signals from the brain. Okay, as I told you, the brain is put inside the skull because it's so much delicate thing. It's like a butter basically. It's so delicate, and if neural connections are just lost, that is it. Brain is dead. Okay. So controlling the brain is a very difficult process, a very dangerous process, because there is a switch off center at the middle of the brain. You can simply switch off the person completely by stimulating that process. Brain surgeons know this very well. But Yeah, so that is the problem with controlling the brain. But for example, people have been using the radio signals which are coming out of brain for different purposes. For example, there are brain music available. Okay, so this ECG, EEG signals which are coming from brain and that's which are detected. It is fed to different music systems, and people are creating brain music at the moment. You can see in YouTube, for example. Other than that, I don't think we can control brain from outside.
So, one question. So, whether this technology has any kind of relation with epileptic brain?
That's also I just said before, right? Because epilepsy happens when the brain fluid potential drops below certain rate, certain potential. Okay.
So, it has any kind of negative effect or positive effect?
See, first we have to develop a technology for positive things, and then we have to tackle with its negative effect. Okay. So the first thing is that see, there is no way to predict whether a person will have epilepsy. Okay. That means suppose this epileptic seizure comes quickly, and the person falls down and having a seizure. The question is whether we can predict it earlier. Just like a heart attack. Heart attack we can kind of predict it nowadays because looking at the signals, ECG signals, we can say the person is prone to heart attack or not. But seizure is not predictable. But if you can measure this potential change by implanting a chip or using any method, for example, we were even thinking about a reflection of IR reflection in brain fluid and see if we can measure this kind of thing. That will be revolutionary for people having epilepsy. Then we can compensate that lowering potential is another question. That is what I was saying. It is very difficult, but it should be doable.
But epilepsy only will last for only 2 seconds to 3 seconds. That's it.
But in that 3 or 4 seconds or even a minute time, the person who is suffering, okay, that's enormous. Okay, that is where we are thinking about. Okay. So that suffering is enormous. It's very huge actually. So that's the part where by compensating that potential change, whether we can give potential back as a feedback system and avoid seizure. That's the question.
Okay. Thank you.
Because that's mainly because, for example, if a person with epilepsy is driving a car, you see, I mean, if it is unpredictable, you can imagine how dangerous it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So.
Thank you, sir. It's a memorable section. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So one more doubt is there. Libin has asked, can we say current neuromorphic computing is ready to replace the existing digital computing?
No. This is only in a, you see, a lot of things are there. Current computing system, we know all our mobile phones, laptops, computers, all our advanced electronic systems are made up of ICs, right? Silicon IC. IC is made of silicon. And it's very difficult to replace silicon technology because the world technology is set for silicon technology. If you want to do any addition there, any modification there, that is possible by small steps. Okay, you cannot just throw away a normal chip and take a new chip. That is not possible immediately. But we have to see how a neuromorphic system behaves, and then what are so we need new algorithms developed for that, new computer architecture for that, because currently we are all set for the silicon IC based architecture. But there are parallel research is going on, enormous research is going on to replace silicon technology. Okay. So it will come up, that's what I was saying, it will come up in 5 to 10 years, at least the first things will be in your hand with neuromorphic devices.
Okay, sir. Another participant has asked, Dominic Savio has asked, can we repair neural damage with the help of this technology?
This is what I said before. Anything to do back on brain is dangerous. Okay, that is only brain surgeons can do that, because touching brain is a different issue. touching brain electronically is even more different issue because we have no idea how brain is connected where and how it is doing all these things electrically. Okay, electronically, let's say. So neural damage is a different thing because biological systems repair by itself mostly. That is the most efficient process as of I know. For example, things like Alzheimer's, they have different reasons. There is a crystallization of a neural part, and there is no remedy for it now. These are all possible chemically using medicines, but electronics has very less to do there. What electronics can do is actually to understand how brain works. For example, brain imaging, brain mapping, understanding a neural disease, electronic and neuromorphic techniques can do a lot. In surgery, for example, neuromorphic systems will be enormously useful. Okay, because we know that it's a telesurgery is going on because I mean doctor doesn't have to be in the surgery room anymore. He can do it with the help of other technologies. So that there a lot of things can happen. But doing something on the brain using neuromorphic, I'm not sure whether we are in that line yet.
Okay, sir. Ajmal has asked, can we convert the change in an electric or magnetic field as a memory device?
Absolutely. That's what we are doing. For example, in a CD, what we are doing is that using laser pulses, we are creating small dots. Okay, wherever the laser pulse falling on a CD has a light-sensitive material there. A very small thin polymer layer is there. So wherever the laser dot is falling, it will bulge a little bit, and that is a memory there. Bit 1, bit 0. Where there is no bulging, there is bit 0. Where is bulging, there is bit 1, like that. So like that, in our tape recorder, magnetic tapes, it's all magnetic fields, right? So we are using a magnetic field to reorient a magnetic domain of the magnetic material coated on a magnetic tape. Just like our bank card, for example. The bank card, when you're putting in an ATM, it's magnetically processed. There's a magnetic layer there. So definitely, magnetic and electric fields and optics, magnetics and electric fields. That are basically what we are using to create memory. So whether it is a real magnetic tape by applying a magnetic field, or the magnetic spin or the spin of the electron, that is a different thing. Okay, that is where that technology goes into different directions. If you have a magnetic tape, we will have normal magnetic memory. But if you take one electron there, then we are playing with the magnetic field and the spin of the electron. You know, the electronic spin is subjected to, I mean, is sensitive to magnetic fields. So there we are talking about spintronics. Okay, so that's a different thing. Just like that, here normally we use transistors, but in resistive memory we are using simply a resistance change of the device. So it is either electrons, or just like a diode, like or capacitor, like or transistor, like materials devices, or it is simply magnetic field, or it is optics, like in our CDs, CD, DVD, or Blu-ray discs. Okay, so these are the three options memory is used. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your invaluable knowledge with us today.
Thank you.
And we are sorry for the technical issue that caused time delay. We also express a sincere gratitude.
Yeah, I should be apologizing for that because it was an error from my side. I sincerely apologize for the delay and for keeping you wait. But I hope that it was a valuable session for.
Sir, can you arrange one more section again on the same topic?
I can arrange. Yes, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
But at that time, I will be more careful. I will come up with a better internet connection.
I also want to be more careful. Okay, that's why I asked question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you, sir. And next, I request Dr. Suresh MK the coordinator of this webinar, to propose the vote of thanks.
A very good afternoon to everyone participate in the national webinar on Brain Inspired Memory, Future of Artificial Intelligence, organized by the Department of Physics, St. Thomas College, Ranni. We hope you and your family are safe and well in the pandemic situation. On behalf of the organizing committee of the webinar, deem it a great honor and a privilege for me to extend a vote of thanks to all those who have contributed in one way or the other to make this webinar a success. We are really very much owed to Almighty for providing such an opportunity to organize a webinar in our department. At the outset, I would like to thank our resource person, Dr. Jinesh KB, Associate Professor, Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, who spared time from his busiest schedule to enrich our webinar. Even though an unexpected technical issues happened, he took a lot of effort to resume the webinar smoothly. The talk which was given by him was an interesting and inspiring one. He has been shared his findings and opinions with us today. The interaction with the participants was really outstanding. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend a very hearty thanks to Jinesh sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are thankful to our manager for being with us this morning. It has been really a great pleasure. We are grateful to him for his continuous motivation to conducting different programs in our college. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend a very hearty thanks to our beloved manager, Dr. Abraham V. Kuriako sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Eliama Kuruvila, for her enthusiastic support. She has been the driving force behind this whole process. Thank you, ma'am, for your guidance and encouragement to conducting the webinar successfully. I also wish to thank all the participants who have attended this webinar. The interest and enthusiasm you have shown is indeed a good sign for the future. Let me express our sincere gratitude and appreciation to all the participants who have raised this occasion with their presence here today. I especially thank our HOD, who has been the backbone of the webinar. Her vision, interest, and hard work have once again culminated in another success story. Thank you, Anju Miss. A special thanks to the organizing committee, teaching and non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. I wish to thank our MSc students for their technical assistance for the smooth running of this webinar. Thank you all students for your invaluable contributions. Our heartfelt thanks to the students who have worked extremely hard both in the foreground and background for the success of the seminar. Thanks a lot to one and all directly or indirectly involved in the program. We, on behalf of the organizing committee, convey our heartiest gratitude and sincerest thanks to all those who made it a success by their desirable presence. With these warm words, we move to the end of today's seminar. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all once again for sharing your valuable time. And thus we have come to the end of this webinar. All are kindly requested to fill up the feedback forms. Thank you.